something that you would like to see a horse do going into the Derby.
Yeah, he has definitely made a favorable impression since arriving here in Louisville, and even though he only has those 2 races under his belt, he's not one that will back down from a fight. Here's Commandment. Here's the big boy. This horse has got a tremendous chest, a tremendous hind end. He is going for the high 5, going for 5 in a row. I've loved him since he graduated, and he has been nothing but spectacular since going to Florida this winter.
Yeah, showed an affinity for Churchill Downs, breaking his maiden by 5+ lengths last fall, and has really run 2 big races to beat Chief Wallaby and the Puma in the Fountain of Youth and Florida Derby.
Here he is yesterday galloping with a mate just in front of him to make sure he stays busy. Rosie, I guess Brad has talked about he can get a little lazy at times.
Yeah, and of all the horses that we've seen on the screen so far this morning, from yesterday's gallops, I would say he's got, probably the least impressive impression of galloping. And I know he's been known not to be a great workhorse. So we had a work a couple of weeks ago that was a little unimpressive to me. And then his latest work I thought was much better. He does seem happy, but he's just kind of a modest horse out here on the racetrack.
Yeah, he's not going to dazzle you in the mornings. Rosie, do you think it's his movement because of the size? He's so big in the chest and back end?
That certainly can be a factor for horses that are just like growing so much during this, 3-year-old year. And as they mature, they fill out and kind of grow into themselves. But, he's just out here doing his job, and he likes to have the company with him and staying right off of him so he can kind of lead him around.
So he's a social animal. He doesn't want to be out there by himself. He likes having a partner out there. One of his stablemates, Further Ado, is the complete opposite of Commandment in the morning. James, he really gets at it in his morning gallops.
He really does. He's coming off a big effort, and he's, didn't look like it took anything out of him when we've seen him here at Churchill Downs. Very full of himself out there exercising.
He's run some bang-up races, that the authoritative maiden victory, then the bluegrass, and he has a victory here. Rosie, this is a horse who has a lot of energy in the mornings.
He sure does. And what's funny is if you stand next to him, he is really not much to look at. He's not very tall. He's just extremely lean and fit. And that probably goes, along with the fact that he really likes to put a lot into his gallops, quite the opposite of Commandment. But he's looked great to me in the mornings here. I loved his breeze. I've seen him gallop several times. Seems like they try to keep him on a quiet track. We've seen him come out right before the break when he's like the only and last horse on the track before the tractors come on. So I know they've been sort of managing him particularly to keep him quiet and keep from doing too much because he is quite a light horse. But he, there's question about what he's beat in his races, but he's sure as heck been impressive.
He certainly has. He has the best, the highest speed figure coming into the Kentucky Derby off that authoritative bluegrass victory. Those 2 races at Keeneland, 20 lengths and 11 lengths, absolutely monstrous efforts. Brad Cox is loaded this year, James, 3 of them, and here's the 3rd, Full Effort, who's getting a lot of play.
Yes, he's a half-brother of Grade 1 dirt winner, Power Squeeze, and has never run on dirt himself, but he's trained forwardly at Churchill Downs, and his prices come down a little bit from the morning line in the early betting.
Yeah, this will be his first start on the dirt. Liam's Map, awesome again, as James mentioned. The dirt blood is there. I like the tactics that were employed in the Jeff Ruby Stakes in his most recent race. The previous 2 preps, he was trying to make up ground from the quarter pole to the wire. Irad Ortiz, with an aggressive ride, got him into play at the quarter pole, and I think that was the difference.
Yeah, and he needs to be in full swing when he reaches the far turn in the Derby. That's the most important part of the race, and he's going to be running late from off the pace.
Full Effort. People are questioning how the transition will be going to the dirt course. Rosie, what have you seen from him in the morning with all the workouts, his gallops? He seems to be taking to it pretty nicely.
Absolutely. I mean, for a horse who, the question is the surface, he certainly breezed well on this track. It was a fast track when he breezed, and it was super fast track that day. There was a lot of fast breezes, but you can't knock him on what he's shown us in the morning here. He's another horse that's very aggressive. You can see him in the draw reins, and he's just kind of, there's nowhere left to pull here. The chin has met the chest. So he's wanting to be into his gallop, clearly getting along on the surface quite well.
That's a cool shot. Look at that, the draw reins. Rosie, tell the people the draw reins.
So yeah, the draw reins are a training tool that you can use for a horse. A lot of times, a horse that carries their head quite high or a horse that's very strong, the draw reins will sort of help the rider have a little bit more control because the horse is sort of pulling against himself. So it gives the rider quite a bit of leverage.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Beautiful explanation from Rosina Bravnik. Full effort. Brad Cox's third of his entries here in the Kentucky Derby. Getting closer and closer, everybody. Thurby today, Oaks tomorrow, the big dance on Saturday, the Kentucky Derby. We are coming back with all of our Kentucky Oaks picks.
When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With Twin Spires, you can place your bets with confidence, whether you use handicapping insights like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with Twin Spires. And now you can race to victory with Twin Spires tournaments.
With over 200 flavor notes to discover, every sip of Woodford Reserve bourbon is a spectacle for the senses.
All right, welcome back to the Kentucky Oaks Kentucky Derby Morning Workout Show presented by Twin Spires. A beautiful shot in the morning. Wonderdine doing what he does. James, those circles, we've grown to get used to them from the Japanese horses.
We really do. The Japanese have an unorthodox training style for us American followers, and one of 3 international runners in the Derby, Wonderdine.
We have another big race, and it's Friday, and it's prime time on NBC. It's the Kentucky Oaks, the 152nd running. And Zany, right now, I believe, is the current 4-1 favorite.
Yeah, and she was bet down in the Lone Oaks future wager. She is coming off a loss of second in the Ashland, but yeah, she's been the favorite all along and holding on to that role right now.
Meaning at 5-1. The beautiful thing about both this year's Kentucky Oaks and the Kentucky Derby is lukewarm favoritism. It means value for whoever you like. Percy's Bar, very well respected, defeating Zany in the Ashland.
I think you make a case, both 6 bona fide win contenders in both races. Just great betting races this year, the Oaks and Derby.
Absolutely, and here is Zany. I think she's very, very talented. I still think she has a lot to learn. I thought Percy's Bar got a little better trip in the Ashland, and that's why I have Zany a little bit higher in my rankings coming up soon.
The pace was extremely slow, 115 and change.
Excellent
and
point.
She got caught wide and yeah, going to get a much better setup on Friday.
The beautiful thing about this year's Kentucky Oaks is the odds. She has been an authoritative favorite in her last 3 races. She's lukewarm at 4-1. Rosie, here's Zany galloping yesterday.
Yeah, she, a couple of mornings I've actually already seen her on the track this morning as well, and she just seems to have quite the modest gallop. She's kind of out there going slow, not trying to do too much, which of course everybody's trying to, get their horses to the first Friday in May for these Oaks fillies in the best order. And so not doing too much these couple of mornings, but looking happy out there on the track. You can see she's got quite the smile on her face. Looks like a very kind horse to ride. And so that's what we're, all the trainers can hope for their Derby and Oaks trainings this morning and this week.
We caught up with Todd Pletcher, and here's what he had to say about Zany.
Physically, she's very mature, always has been. Big scopy filly, good disposition. Seems to have settled in here well and didn't seem to mind the off-going should we encounter that, but hopefully we don't. But yeah, super happy with her. You just never know for sure, and especially when we got an 8:40 post time for the Oaks, and the lights will likely be on, I suppose, which not all horses handle that well. It's why we've been trying to train her in an early set a lot of days with the lights on. Just hopefully she can get used to it. But I know from experience racing at the Meadowlands over the years, sometimes you have horses that don't like going under the lights.
There was Todd Pletcher's thoughts on Zany. All right, fans, it is time. Here are my top 5 Kentucky Oaks, and start with number 5. Number 5 is Prom Queen. I thought Prom Queen has looked good in the mornings since coming here from Florida. I thought she looked excellent winning her prep race at Gulfstream Park. I have her at number 5. Percy's Bar, who defeated Zany in the Ashland. It's hard to keep her out of the top 5. She's my 4th selection, meaning the California filly, who is doing excellent work. And boy, I've loved what I've seen from her workouts leading up to this year's Kentucky Oaks. She is my number 3 pick. Zany, I just think she has a lot of talent. I'm a little concerned with her inside pose, her greenness at times, but boy, you can't underestimate her ability. I love the size scope that she brings to the table. And my number 1 pick, offering tremendous value, Counting Stars. I've loved her from the very beginning. She had some tremendous workouts leading up to the debut run. I know she's thrown in a couple of clunkers, but when she's on her game, she's as good as anybody. She's beautiful. She's got long legs. She stretches herself very smartly. And at 8-1, James, I think I'm getting tremendous value.
Absolutely. Last 2 races, very strong by Counting Stars.
Rosie, what do you got for us for your Kentucky Oaks picks?
Well, it certainly is a wide open race. I think almost the Derby and the Oaks are wide open. Coming from the bottom, my 5th pick is going to be the California filly. Number 4, I have Bella Ballerina. I really like this filly. It's almost hard to separate these, and so working out what I think their best trips will be. My 3rd pick is going to be Counting Stars. I think this is a really, really talented filly for Mark Casse. 2nd pick is Prom Queen. I liked this race almost more than any of the others. One of Brad Cox's filly, and she has been looking impressive here in the morning. And there's so much value in these picks, but my number 1 pick is going to be Explora. I think the Honeybee was a really good race. She's coming in fresh. She's got the rail and she's got speed. And a lot of these speed horses are versatile, so it will be a rider's race to the first turn, and the pace scenario could be almost anything. Let's see what Caitlin has on the backside for her picks.
Well, thank you, Rosie, and top 5 picks for me coming up for the Kentucky Oaks. I think this is the deepest field in the Kentucky Oaks we've seen in quite some time, certainly since I've been here in the last 5 years. So this is a race that I think you can make a win case for so many. Let's take a look at the top 5 I have put together for the Kentucky Oaks. Explora, going to be my 5th choice. Don't love that she missed a race. Don't love the rail, but I really think that there is something with this Bob Baffert filly. She was kind of the leader of this group just a few months ago, so I think there's still plenty left for her there. I expect her to make noise in this race. Bella Ballerina, the equipment change doesn't bother me. I prefer blinkers off rather than blinkers on. A lot of sharps like the way she's looked in the morning. She's done very little wrong, so I have to include her as well, and the price will be right. Zany, she's the one that's been at the top of most people's lists. The inside draw, a little bit of a concern, and the fact that she's kind of a little bit green has been the deciding factor for me on whether I want her on top or I want to kind of maybe play with her a little bit more underneath. But she's a horse with a world of talent that I think is going to have a big say in this race. Counting Stars, this is a horse that has really grown on me. She's so versatile. She can make her own trip, and that is something that is so important in a big race like this. I think she's the horse to beat in this year's Kentucky Oaks, but I'm going to try to beat her. Percy's Bar is going to be my top selection in the 152nd Kentucky Oaks. Some of the speed came out. She doesn't need to be that forward. She kind of just needs to be in that second flight of horses as per Ben Colebrook. She had a big performance in the Ashland left out. Zany was never going to get to her, and I think she's going to get a good trip from post position number 11. She's going to slide in just a little bit, but Percy's Bar going to be the one for me in the Kentucky Oaks. Back up to you, James and Tony.
Thank you very much, Caitlin. Joe Christofek's under the weather, and we wish him the very best. But even when Joe's under the weather and sick, he still is going to get his homework turned in. That's just the kind of guy he is. And here are Joe Christofek's top 5 for the Kentucky Oaks, starting with Percy's Bar at 6-1. Very impressive victory in the Ashland. Counting Stars there in the 4th slot. Zany, his 3rd selection. Explora, and then Prom Queen. Joe Christofek offering up Prom Queen at 8-1. Joe Christofek's top 5 Kentucky Oaks horses. James, I know you were on yesterday. Quickly, who was your number 1 Kentucky Oaks filly?
Percy's Bar, and I got Zany 2nd.
All right. So, many opinions, somewhat similar, just maybe in different orders. The beautiful thing about this year's Oaks and Derby is just tremendous value. I mean, think about Zany Curly at 4-1. She's been such an authoritative odds-on favorite in her last 3 races.
Caitlin talked about her one issue, doesn't really run straight and could cock her head to the side, but she is getting more mature with experience. Maybe she can perform a little better in the Oaks.
Yes, and Todd Pletcher mentioned a little bit of concern with the lights. You know, we take that for granted that we just assume horses are going to run pretty strongly under lights. It can be a hindrance at times. Beautiful shot with the tractors harrowing up the track. Coming up next will be the Derby and Oaks horses live on the track.
When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With Twin Spires, you can place your bets with confidence, whether you use handicapping insights like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with Twin Spires. And now you can race to victory with Twin Spires tournaments.
With over 200 flavor notes to discover, every sip of Woodford Reserve bourbon is a spectacle for the senses.
All right, anticipating moment right here as the horses are about to make their way for the designated training hours for both the Kentucky Oaks and the Kentucky Derby. And James, look at the crowd on the backside. That's the biggest I've seen.
Absolutely. A lot of people out there watching the horses get ready to go on the track.
This will be good for the horses because they have a lot they have to overcome both on the Friday and Saturday cards. They'll be racing amongst the biggest spectators, the biggest crowds they've ever probably will encounter throughout their professional careers.
The only thing they can't prepare them for is that wall of sound when they turn into the stretch.
Yeah, that's incredible. And as a fan, you know, it's hard not to get pumped up when the horses swing into the lane. There's a good look at Great White. He has just drawn in off the also eligible list. This is a massive individual. As I mentioned earlier in the show, he stands at 17.2 hands. I believe I saw a weighing a few weeks ago of around 1,370 pounds. He makes me look pretty thin.
Yeah, and he just towers over other horses often that are standing right next to him. A sight to see.
He's an imposing individual, that's for sure. You know, a little concern with him. Obviously, he's a long shot in drawing in. He'll add some pace to the race, that's for sure. I expected a little better effort from him out of the Bluegrass because he showed a lot of heart when he was very game defeating full effort in the Battaglia
He had
Memorial.
trained real well on dirt for the Bluegrass. Perhaps he can show more in his second dirt attempt.
That's true. That is true. He has every right to improve, and he definitely will add a little bit more flow to the race, that's for sure. There's one of the favorites. He is well respected, and rightfully so. I think he has some of the best company lines out of everybody in this year's Kentucky Derby, referring to the Puma. He's 7-1. I just love the way his coat glows off the sun. He is just a beautiful individual.
Yeah, he finished his preparations with a strong 5-furlong work at Gulfstream, shipped to Churchill a couple days later, and I think he's made more and more of a favorable impression every day.
You know, and he had a lot to... All right, Litmus Test on the left and So Happy on the right, the California horses. I know Litmus Test has been competing in Arkansas, but Bob Baffert, the trainer, stationed out there in Southern California, and So Happy for Mark Glatz. So Happy is really the one that is surprising me from a wagering standpoint. He is currently at 6-1. The fans are really gravitating towards him.
Yeah, I mean, and everybody's going to be so happy to be at the Derby, and so he's a little bit getting bet on his name.
Great story there with Mark Glatz. Mark had the misfortune, his wife passed away earlier this year. I've known Mark for many years. I'm not going to say that we're great friends or anything, but we both started in Northern California and have a lot of respect for him. His father was a heck of a trainer, and Mark's done a great job since getting to Southern California.
There wasn't a dry eye in the winner's circle after the Santa Anita Derby.
And rightfully so. I mean, life is tough, that is for sure, and horses can make up for some tough times, and I know Mark's having a heck of a ride. Same with his connections with So Happy. And even though he's got Run Happy blood on top, he looks the part of a Kentucky Derby horse. And you know, we forget Run Happy sire won the Kentucky Derby Super Saver.
That's right. Back in 2010, Todd Pletcher's first Derby winner Super Saver.
So, and the California horses should never be underestimated. They've always been players from year in and year out. I know California racing isn't quite what it once was, especially like when I was growing up out there and working in there in the late 90s and early 2000s. Southern California racing was as good as any winter racing in the country.
Right.
And it's dropped off a bit. But last year, second and third place finishers, both out of the Santa Anita Derby. We're going to get back to the Puma. James, there he is.
Yeah, really impressed by. I think he has more gears. Is a better horse than Mage was coming into the race. Now Mage got a perfect setup that he took advantage of. The Puma is more of like a mid-pack stalker. He won't be a one-run closer like Mage was in 2023.
You know, the Puma, you have to give him credit because I always talk about spacing in horse racing, and he was on 3 weeks rest out of the Tampa Bay to the Florida Derby. That's somewhat unconventional. We haven't seen a lot of Tampa Bay Derby winners go to the next race in Florida.
Right, absolutely, because there's an option to go 4 weeks after the Tampa Bay Derby, 4 weeks into the Kentucky Derby, but instead Gustavo Delgado said 3 and then 5 weeks rest.
Some horses have even opted, not many, but have tried the Tampa Bay Derby straight to the Kentucky Derby. That's been kind of a tough one to overcome. As you said, the more conventional path has usually been to go to the Bluegrass or something. So
Absolutely.
That was a heck of an effort in the Florida Derby. All right, we believe this is Renegade. That's what I'm hearing in my ear, the current Kentucky Derby favorite. He comes off the most impressive prep race, in my opinion. His turn of foot was absolutely scintillating, winning the Arkansas Derby. He has to overcome the dreaded rail. It has not been won since, 86 with Ferdinand and Billy Shoemaker?
40 years ago.
Yeah.
Definitely got the top last race figure on, I think, all metrics for the Bluegrass. Just has to carry his form to Churchill. Like you said, he's loved Keeneland so far.
Rosie, I'd like to get your thoughts on what you're seeing from Renegade this morning.
Yeah, well, I mean, what drama with the morning line favorite drawing the rail. And as someone who has ridden out of the post hole #1 in the Kentucky Derby, I wish him the best of luck. But he looks great out here, very happy, very shiny. Of course, they all are. They're so well taken care of down here on the backside. But this horse has just been kind of a happy, modest horse training around the Churchill track in the mornings. Hasn't done anything wrong at all, and certainly has the accolades to be the morning line favorite in the Kentucky Derby.
Yes, he does. That's for sure. I know there were a lot of people that were really high on him after his Sam Davis victory, and I think he just validated it with his effort in the Arkansas Derby. And you got to give him credit where credit is due also. Alpha's maiden special weight victory. He runs a good second to Paladin. Paladin was the #1 horse in many people's rankings up until his injury.
Absolutely, and he outfinished Paladin in the race before that in the maiden race. So I think he's improved at 3 in his 2 starts and just has to overcome that rail post.
Yeah, the rail post, obviously a hindrance when you have 19 others outside of you. He's a closer. We'll see how he's able to work out a trip. Here is the most expensive horse coming into the Kentucky Derby, $2.4 million, referring to Patente from Bob Baffert. And I'll tell you what, it's not often you're going to get a price like Patente in the Kentucky Derby for a 6-time Kentucky Derby winning trainer, Bob Baffert.
Absolutely, and he's only run 3 times, didn't make his debut till January 31st. But what you talked about earlier, these California preps, not sure about the quality of them, but the figures that Potente and So Happy got are on par with their main rivals, so that's encouraging.
You know, and it's somewhat similar to last year because you look at journalism and you look at Baeza, who was behind them. So it's kind of very similar in my opinion. And this horse last time in the Santa Anita Derby had to do a lot of the heavy lifting. I love the way he was able to ration his energy in the San Felipe. And I think that's the trip they won. He had a stablemate in the Santa Anita Derby, didn't break too well, and that might have forced Patente's hand.
But he's definitely going to be up close.
Yes.
It won't be on the lead probably, but he'll be up close to the early lead.
He'll be pushing. You know, there's a lot of horses in slots 14, 15, or 15, 16, 17, and 18 that all kind of like to have that same similar running style, and he is one of them. He's had some great workouts, that's for sure, leading up to this year's Kentucky Derby. 57 and 4/5 the other day. You don't see that too often.
Yeah, and Bob was pleased with it. He works his horses fast, and they run well after working fast.
All right, now we're going to take a look at our beautiful paddock, and it is absolutely glorious. I walked in this morning, and I caught a tremendous shot with the lights on and the twin spires. So there's the Puma. Now, this is obviously very important for horses' preparation for the Kentucky Derby. You know, you want to get them familiar with their surroundings. So this is definitely what trainers do. They'll school them in the paddock. They will school them in the gate. And you can't do nothing wrong by doing this. Get some of these butterflies out of the way.
Yeah, you get familiar with the set, the environment, and it just helps you on race day.
All right, we'd like to catch up with Caitlin Benson. Caitlin?
Hey guys, so seeing these horses paddock schooling, got word from the Pumas team that he was going to paddock school today. I see there's some others in there with him. I'm not sure who else is in there in the paddock with the Puma, but I figured there would be quite a few that would probably paddock school this morning. There's also going to be quite a few that are going to paddock school today during the races. So it's important to paddock school in the mornings when they have the time during these designated training times, but it's probably even more important to paddock school during the day when it's busy on a day like Thurby is. Thurby's gotten super popular here in Louisville. We're expecting there'll definitely be more than 50,000 people here today, I would assume. It's one of the busiest days aside from Oaks and Derby. So this is going to be a good simulation in the afternoon for what they're going to potentially see on Derby Day. You can't quite replicate it, but you can come close with a day like today. So expect to see quite a few Derby and Oaks horses schooling throughout the races this afternoon. So if you're out here for a Thurby, definitely come down to the paddock because you will see a few of them. They'll have their saddle towels on, and the handlers will be wearing these kind of baby blue vests that indicate that they do have a Derby or an Oaks schooler.
And during the afternoon when we're on set, we'll do our best. We'll try our best to alert the fans who is actually in the paddock for schooling. That's a great point, Caitlin, that you bring up. The afternoon schooling, what a complete different experience it is than the morning. This maybe gives them their bearings, gives them their surroundings, but the afternoon will be as close of a simulation as you can get. And as the Thurby crowd continues to grow year in and year out, as Caitlin alluded to, it's a great day to get horses schooling in the afternoon.
Absolutely, and we're definitely going to have a pretty sizable crowd today here. No rain in the forecast, like Caitlin talked about earlier. We're expecting big crowds the rest of the week.
Yeah, the racing gods are with us this week. They got the rain out of the way, and it's supposed to be beautiful. The temperatures are not going to be the warmest, but we can take sun and 60s any day of the week. That's all right by me. But here is the Puma, one of the more respected horses leading up to this year's Kentucky Derby. Right now, I believe we just saw earlier his odds at 7-1. He's made quite an impression. You know, obviously the connections, winning the Kentucky Derby just a few years ago with Mage, a lot of similarities. You know, Mage didn't graduate until early on in his 3-year-old campaign. Similar with the Puma. Right to Party, that's him along the inside trying to get some heavy work in. He's a distant closer, but they've got him on the inside, maybe trying to get a little bit more energy out of him.
Yeah, he'll still be closing from out the back. He's run third and second in his last 2 starts, the Gotham and Wood Memorial at Aqueduct. But he's a late runner in a race that could have a hot pace. So not out of the question he could come running late for maybe a share of the purse.
Yeah, he's got a big-time opportunity to be part of the Jackpot 8, the Super High 5, a Superfecta. You know, in the Wood Memorial, that was the first time he went around 2 turns. Rosie, are you down there? What are you seeing from Right to Party?
Yeah, they clearly want to keep him focused on his job this morning, keeping some company right behind him in his gallop. And he's into it. You know, you can see even the gallop mate here has got his head turned to stay really close to Right to Party, just pushing him along in his gallop. So he may be a horse that doesn't put a lot into it. And they're just making sure they get their final fitness in before the Derby.
Yeah, we saw it yesterday with Commandment that he liked to be out there with a workmate, and same here with Right to Party, and that's probably expected with a lot of late runners. Think about it. You know, if you're more of a forward type horse, you're probably going to have a little bit more energy and, you know, a little bit more zip in your step, a little bit more, you know, gusto to you in the mornings because of just your running style. The closers, they kind of want somebody near them. They want targets.
Yeah, it keeps them company, and like Rosie said, keeps them focused.
So there is Right to Party. What a great story it would be for Chester Broman. Chester Broman, a longtime supporter of horse racing. He's done a lot of great things in the state of New York. I called a lot of his horses at Finger Lakes, and it would be great to see Chester Broman make some noise with Right to Party. We have 3 Japanese horses this year in the Kentucky Derby. 6-Speed coming up next. 6-Speed is expected to be one of the horses that is really pushing the action. He's number 17. I believe now he's going to be in post position, what is it, 16 or 15?
16.
Who knows what these
16
defections.
right now,
yeah.
And further ado is going to move to post 17, which has been unlucky so far. 6-Speed, he reeled off 3 consecutive wins this winter in Meydan in Dubai, exits the second UAE Derby. He's expected to stay in the USA after the Derby and is going to add speed to the field.
Pure Kentucky bred, top and bottom. Not this time. You're going to get a big price on a not this time in the Kentucky Derby. This was moments ago with 6 Speed, and he is one of the horses that figures to be out there, winging it, being part of the pace. We mentioned how the post positions 15, 16, 17, or numbers 15, 16, 17, and 18 are all horses that want to be going, and then you add Great White on top of them from the far outside.
Yeah, absolutely, and they're going to probably be pushing on towards the inside when they make the turn, so it'll be interesting to see what it looks like.
So 6 Speed coming off his second place finish in the UAE Derby. Wonderdine, here's a horse that we have been able to get a lot of video coverage on in the past 13 days. He is a pure Japanese bred, top and bottom, Wonderdine.
Lone internationally bred horse in the field. We've got a Florida bred and 18 Kentucky breds right now, and Wonderdine looking a little bit spirited out there.
Yes, he is. He's pretty pumped up. Rosie, what do you see in him?
Yeah, I mean, he's put in some strong gallops. It's just so funny to try to handicap the Japanese horses sometimes. You don't know what to think about the times out there. The surfaces, we're not as familiar with it, but this one certainly seems to be getting along on the surface here at Churchill Downs this morning. He's got a big, long stride, doesn't seem to be bothered by the crowd, but definitely into the bridle for sure.
Yeah, this is a very enthusiastic gallop, that is for sure. He looked sensational winning the UAE Derby. He was in a nice spot throughout, and he was able to wear down 6 Speed. Wonderdine could be one of those horses in the mid-pack flight that could get first run on some of the deep closers. Speaking of a deep closer, James, Golden Tempo. I've been a fan of this horse. I think he's offering a lot of value. He is one hoping for a very, very lively pace up front.
Yeah, and sometimes, you know, when these horses make an equipment change, it's the second start that it really pays off. Golden Tempo, added blinkers for Louisiana Derby, and I thought he improved upon his third in the Risen Star, where he wasn't much of a factor. He only got beat a length by Emerging Market last time.
Yeah, you know, he was on short rest out of the Lecomte to the Risen Star, and then he got nice 5 weeks into the Louisiana Derby, and he progressed very nicely. This is a horse that really caught one of my good friends' eyes on his graduation score so much that he touted me on him in the Lecomte, and I thought his Lecomte victory was awesome. He made up a lot of ground in just a relatively short time. He was far out of it early, made up 7 lengths to the wire. He's a horse that's going to be closing. Last time I think we saw, 49-1, something in that neighborhood. If they go fast early, I would want Golden Tempo on some of my tickets underneath. Maybe not from a win perspective, but you never know if they go that fast early. He's a horse that I think offers a lot of value.
And he won't get in trouble early probably from post 18 now.
Yes, I like that thoughts as well. Intrepido, another one of the California horses, and this horse really made some eyebrows raised the other day with that fast workout, huh? We talked about Potente going 57 and change. What about Intrepido, James?
Yeah, 45 for the half. It was faster than Jeff Mullins wanted, but to me, when a horse works that fast, he's touting himself that he's going to show speed in the upcoming race.
Yeah, he made up 11 lengths in a week span from workouts. He worked 47-1 on the 19th of April, and here's a horse who was forwardly placed on the 7th of February in the Robert B. Lewis, and he didn't get away to the greatest of starts in the Santa Anita Derby, and that might have compromised his style. I don't know, with that 45 work with an inside post, litmus test immediately to his outside.
Yeah,
is he another one forcing the action?
I think he will, because his 2 best races really came when he was up close in the maiden win and in the San Felipe, or the Lewis, excuse me.
Yeah, I liked his maiden victory. I liked his American Pharaoh. I gave him a puncher's chance to try to upset Ted Noffey in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. It didn't pan out. The Robert B. Lewis was a good comeback effort, regressed a little bit in the Santa Anita Derby. You know, Travis Stone, I was on with him earlier in the Derby Work show, and we were talking about sometimes you need to forgive races. Thunder Gulch threw in a clunker before he came back with a huge effort. You know, Intrepido looks like his numbers are a little bit below some of the top ones. I'd be surprised if he wins, but hey, I didn't think Rich Strike could win. I didn't think Mind That Bird could win.
No. And the thing with that is it's difficult to envision him getting the right trip, but yeah, he's training well.
Here is the girl on the inside in the Kentucky Oaks, Explora for Bob Baffert. And she's got some question marks coming into this affair because she has not been seen since the Honeybee, where she defeated Counting Stars. She was the beaten favorite in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. I think she has a lot of talent. I love the workouts coming into this race. Question marks, though. Can she win the Oaks off such a long layoff?
Yeah, her schedule was messed up for sure, missing that last race, but she only missed 3 weeks from the work tab, which I think is very encouraging, has trained well for this, and she just got so much back class. She's actually run 3 times this year because she ran January 10th, February 8th, and March 1st. I think Baffert thinks fitness won't be an issue despite missing the fantasy.
And look at her. I talk about value in both of these races this weekend, James. Look at Explora's odds in all of her races. You're getting 6-1 right now in the Kentucky Oaks. This is a filly who's never been higher than 3-2. Rosie, what are you seeing from Explora?
Well, she's my top pick, and
All
I love the
right.
way that she's looked on the track. Obviously, fitness would be a question, and how long she's been since her last race, but you can also see it as she's trained by Bob Baffert, and he knows how to get a horse fit. He knows how to get him prepared. A lot of these trainers, not in the Kentucky Oaks and the Derby specifically, but on a daily basis, are dealing with these out of the ordinary situations where a horse might have to miss a race, and they can adjust and they can get these horses prepared. I actually like a horse coming in fresh to a big race like this, and sometimes that can be even more beneficial. But she's out here loving her job, tugging on her rider there. You can see his head sort of bobbing up and down as she's taking a hold of him. And still a kind horse. She's not trying to do too much by any means. But, always have faith in Bob. Ridden a lot for Bob, and he's just such a great horseman and trainer, and great guy to ride for.
I bet. He wins a lot of big races. If I was a jockey, I'd love to ride for him as well, that's for sure. Explora, when she's had inside post, she's been put into the race early. I think the rail positioning could be somewhat compromising to her, but boy, when I see her work tab, it's what I remember wanting to handicap with 112 and 2 out of the gate, 125. 58 and 4. All right, we've got a couple of the Japanese horses going to be coming up next. Wonder Dean and Denon Bourbon. And Denon Bourbon behind Wonder Dean. And they're just walking. And, who better to bring in right now than Caitlin Benson?
So we had Danon Bourbon back here by the starting gate, which is back by me here in the chute. And this is the gate that they're going to use for the Kentucky Derby. He was back there schooling, just kind of stood in the gate a little bit. He was separated from Wonder Dean, and the other horse that they're with is Tio Elvis. He's going to run in the Grade 1 Churchill Downs on Saturday. Definitely look out for him. But Danon Bourbon, was over there by himself in the starting gate. And I think that was kind of by design to separate him from the two, get a little bit of that schooling, get some experience over there on his own, because he's kind of been a horse that's been a little bit amped up on occasion since he's gotten here. He was kind of tossing his head a bit and being a little naughty, but not too bad, and he definitely settled down when he joined the other Japanese horses, so making his way around front side now.
You can see the discrepancy in size between Danon Bourbon and Wonder Dean. Danon Bourbon, he's a very imposing individual. He's got good size to him.
He really does, and he's 3 for 3. He's won all 3 starts by open lengths. Not been exposed. He's got some tactical ability. He's a tough read for me when I handicap the race.
He's definitely a tough read for me as well because, his debut run, he runs against 16, so he has 15 rivals, but he broke very alertly and aggressively, and he was on the rail, and he never had to deal with any obstructions, no adversity, no kickback. Same thing in his 2 subsequent starts. He was on the outside clear. He's never had to negotiate traffic or kickback. I believe he will in the Kentucky Derby.
I think so too, unless he shows surprising speed and is out there on the front end. He's definitely going to probably have to.
Or if he shows enough speed where he can try to secure an outside stalking trip, but with so much speed to the outside and him in post position 7 and with Intrepido and Litmus to his inside, it's hard to imagine he will not have to deal with kickback. Like I said, all 3 career starts, ultra impressive. Boy, they couldn't have been any easier setups.
Yeah, and sometimes horses, you can just handle it. It's no problem, but it's a big concern when you're trying something the first time in the Kentucky Derby.
All right, moments ago, Chief Wallaby galloping, and looking forward to seeing this. And look at the Chief, Rosie. He's pretty pumped up.
Yeah, I have just loved this horse on the track, and I saw him live, and he was just phenomenal. You can see he's got a great big stride. He looks like he is just cruising along down the backside here and moving so well. All of these horses this morning look so great on this track.
And that's great. That's what we want to see. We want to see these horses coming into this race in tip-top condition. No excuses for anybody. It's kind of like when 2 teams face off in the Super Bowl. You want them both at pure strength. You don't want one team to be battling injuries where they have a big edge. These horses are making great impressions in the days leading up to the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, I don't think we've had too many negative comments about the workouts, gallops, even jogs out there. They're all like looking for a peak effort, and that's what their trainers are trying to get them to do.
Yeah, you want to keep these horses as happy as they can be, and they don't seem to be fazed by the big crowd this morning, and it's the biggest crowd that I've seen so far for the Derby Work Show. Chief Wallaby, non-winners of 2 lifetime. I talked about it earlier. I said once upon a time I was going to quit betting these type, but it's hard. It's hard not to include Chief Wallaby.
I think the blinkers will help him. I think he's been a little bit too far back, perhaps, and maybe he can get a little bit better of a trip with the headgear.
All right, Let's explore real quick, ladies and gentlemen. Rosie Napravnik's top pick for the Kentucky Oaks. She's got some great works, and she's as talented as any of these fillies. Currently 6-1 her live odds. Going to take a look at a couple of the Japanese horses schooling in the paddock here, coming up momentarily. Still keeping our eyes on Explorer. She seems to be happy this morning, just like most of the horses this morning. It's a beautiful morning. Horses like it when it's a little chilly, so 49 degrees, that's right up their alley.
Yeah, unlike Renegade, she's got speed. I mean, she could be challenging for the lead. She'll probably just look to work out an up-close stalk and pressing type trip, but that break will be important for Explorer. Yeah,
you know what? The more I look at her past performances, when she draws an inside post, she's pretty much had to be put into play early. It'll be interesting. You know, Zany's not necessarily a bona fide front runner, so Explorer might be able to work that trip. All right, here are the Japanese horses in the paddock, and they're getting their final preparations, at least for this morning. It'll be interesting to see if any of these two appear in the afternoon today or tomorrow.
And I think Caitlin said that's T.O. Elvis in front and Denom Bourbon in back.
Okay.
Yeah. I believe that's right, even though he's wearing the yellow saddlecloth.
That's Wonder Dean that's in front.
Okay.
T.O. he was behind them, correct?
Yes, he is in. He's got a black towel that says workmate.
All right, beautiful.
Thank you, Caitlin.
You're welcome.
Yeah, they seem to be handling it very nicely. I mean, like Caitlin mentioned, you know, this schooling session right now in the morning, it's, you know, there's not a lot they have to deal with. All right, fans, we've got all sorts of great promotions all weekend long, and there is our company, twinspires.com. And I'll tell you what, James, you took advantage of it yesterday, the Bet Back. It's one of the best promotions there is. The Bet Back, I mean, you've got to love this one.
Love it, but we've talked about it repeatedly as bettors. We're going to finish second and third every single race during Kentucky Derby week at Churchill Downs for our Twin Spires players, up to $10 back if your horse runs second or third. Make sure you opt in.
This is one of my favorite wagers, the Dollar Oaks Derby Pick 6. It will start Friday with the La Troyenne and the Kentucky Oaks, and then 4 races on Saturday, the American Turf, the Churchill Down, the Derby City Distaff, and wrap it up with the Kentucky Derby. The average payout, $84,000. I love that wager. I almost was a rock star in 2020, and I fell apart the last 2 legs. I had some prices. Oh, I was licking my chops. I got all excited. I love that wager. I love all the wagers this weekend. We got another one coming up right now. This next wager, the Oaks Derby Double. This is a fan favorite, that's for sure.
This longest specialty wager out there. Been playing this one for years, Tony.
Yeah, it's a great wager. Look at the average payout the last 5 years. That's $1 fans for $267. There's so many great wagers all weekend long in the Oaks Derby Double. A big fan favorite. Here's another big fan favorite. It starts on the Kentucky Oaks, and then it will wrap it up with the Turf Classic and the Kentucky Derby. I love the 50 cents, and I mean, for 50 cents, look at that payout for $1,800.
You're going to get paid if you hit it, so it's definitely, for 50 cents, a very attractive wager.
It's probably a good time to hitch up for a loan right now, James. All right, we got the next wager, the $3 3-year-old pick 3. All right, last 4 years, better than $16,000. The Pat Day Mile, the American Turf, and the Kentucky Derby. How about the Pat Day Mile this year? That race is shaping up to be tremendous.
It's like a grade 1 race.
Englishman and Crude Velocity.
Very. The American Turf, I thought, is very competitive.
Yeah, stark contrast. I got my eyes on him. And then another great wager, the 50-cent All Dirt Pick 5. Make sure to bet these at Twin Spires. Look at this, fans. It starts on Saturday with the 4th race, the Derby City Distaff. The Knicks go overnight. The Pat Day Mile, Churchill Downs in the Kentucky Derby, $71,000. They say in poker, one time, can you use your one time? Can I use my one time this weekend? A lot of great wagers all weekend long, and make sure that you get that action in at twinspires.com. It is time now for my top 5 in the Kentucky Derby, and I'm so excited. You know, I've been talking about Commandment for a long, long time. He's obviously going to remain number 1. But Renegade, it's hard to not include him in the top 5. He had the best prep coming in as far as the way he did at a stylish victory. The Puma has made a good impression to me, and if I like Commandment Chief Wallaby, how can I not like the Puma? Further ado, I think is trained as good as anybody leading up to the Kentucky Derby. There he is, fans, my N2L. I've always got to have an N2L on my list. Chief Wallaby. Can Bill Mott and Junior Alvarado go back-to-back? It hasn't been done since Lucian Lauren and Ron Turquette, 72-73, Riva Ridge, and Secretariat and Commandment, fans. He's 7-1. I bet him in Future Pool 2. I got 69-1. It's been the thrill of a winter because normally these horses don't pan out. You're just wasting your money. And maybe even if he doesn't come through for me, I got a heck of a ride, James.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that position.
All right, Rosie, how about you? Who do you like in this year's Kentucky Derby?
Well, I guess I'll have to explain myself, starting with number 5 at Commandment. I just think, you know, when a nose separates 2 horses like Commandment and the Puma, I think the Puma ran a harder race, got the brunt of it in the Florida Derby, and I just think that is the better horse. So I've got Commandment as number 5. Number 4, Further Ado. I watched this horse run live in the Bluegrass, and watching him in the paddock, he's just very unassuming. He's a smaller, very light horse, but absolutely skips across the ground, which he's been doing here at Churchill all week long. So that's my number 4 is Further Ado. Then comes with the Puma. I mean, he's been giving a great impression to everybody. I think he, ran so hard in the Florida Derby and just showed that he has that grit and that try. And with only a nose separating those 2 in that race, I mean, how do you talk about who's the better horse? Who had the harder trip? My second choice, I know this horse is a wild card, but Emerging Market. I may be wrong, but I know that we'll be seeing this horse throughout this year, and he's a very impressive specimen. I know that Chad Brown would not have him in the Derby if he didn't think that there was a good reason for it. He's shown so much in the Louisiana Derby. But Chief Wallaby is my number 1 pick, getting the blinkers on and just having all the faith in the world in trainer Bill Mott. It would be something to see them go back-to-back with all of the same connections, but Chief Wallaby's been giving me sovereignty vibes since I've seen him. I mean, he just looks fantastic on the track. And we're going to give this a go with a heck of a lot of value here in these top 5, but let's see what Caitlin has on the backside for us.
Well, Rosie, I feel a little bit better about my top 5. You have a good eye, and I think we're seeing things very, very similarly. Let's take a look at how I see this year's Kentucky Derby. And it was kind of a tie between the 5th place selection between the Puma and Further Ado for me. I ended up on Further Ado because I think this is a horse that he's either going to make me feel vindicated or he's going to make me feel silly based on the way he ran last time out. He's a very, very talented horse that I think could make me feel a little dumb if I don't include him and he does something very, very special in the Derby, but I do think there's a chance that he could bounce. The number 4, Incredible. This is a horse to me that is flying way under the radar that I think is going to run a big race for Riley Mott. I was very impressed with the Virginia Derby. He's 2 for 2 here at Churchill Downs. I think you will hear from this horse in the Kentucky Derby. Commandment, it's hard to ignore him. He's done nothing wrong, had a good effort in the Florida Derby to win that race. He's a closer that I like the most in this year's race. I think he's going to become rolling late, but may fall just shy of getting his picture taken. Emerging Market, could it be too much too soon for him? But as Chad Brown said, he has a lot of miles on him. He was ready to roll as a 2-year-old, but kind of had a stroke of bad luck, not making it to the races because of an illness, because of a cut. And Chad Brown, he's on the conservative style. So is Klarovich Stables, the owners. This horse would not be here if they didn't believe he could win this race. I think he's potentially the best horse in this crop. may be light on experience, but the talent is there. Flavian Pratt's record speaks for itself in Triple Crown races. And Chief Wallaby, he's going to be the one for me in this year's Kentucky Derby. The blinkers on doesn't bother me because he's a horse that ever since I've seen him working out with the blinkers versus the way he worked out before and in the races, he is not tossing his head. He's not looking to the side. He's not stopping and starting. The blinkers are doing their job, and it's not like they're super full blinkers either. They're just small. So I like this equipment change. Bill Mott wouldn't be doing it if he didn't think it was going to make a difference, and it's not just throwing something at the wall. It's making a real change on this horse. I think he's going to be a little bit closer, and I think this is going to be enough to put him over the hump. The talent is there. I'm with you, Rosie, giving sovereignty vibes, and Bill Mott has said as such. So Chief Wallaby, going to be my pick in this year's Kentucky Derby.
All right.
Gosh, excuse me, back up to the set.
Okay, thank you very much, Caitlin. Thank you, Rosie, both of the gals on Chief Wallaby. Joe Christofek, once again, under the weather. We wish him the very best. We want him to rest up and get better. Emerging market in his top 5. Further ado, the Puma. There's Chief Wallaby. And Renegade, despite the one hole, Joe Christofek is going to stick with him. I think I heard him saying something the other day, James. He's had him as his number 1 pick for a couple of months, and he's not going to abandon ship now. So Renegade, the Arkansas Derby champion, one of the more impressive preps leading up to the Kentucky Derby. His turn of foot was incredible. He just has a lot to overcome with the inside post. I think I heard Todd Pletcher say that the rail has cost him on a couple of occasions. Mo Donegal, he had another horse that
Nona Jinja. Both. He won the Florida Derby. Both major race prep winners, and at least his run style might help him because he's going to drop back. He's not looking for that mid-pack trip that could be difficult given the field turning left.
So Joe Christofek sticking with a Renegade. Boy, it's been a great lead up to this year's Kentucky Derby. We are just a few days out. Thurby today, Kentucky Oaks, NBC primetime tomorrow, the 152nd Kentucky Derby on Saturday. James, it's a pleasure being here with you this morning.
I've really enjoyed it. You've done a great job. Thanks, Tony.
All right, fans, hope you enjoy your Kentucky Derby. 152, this is the last Kentucky Derby Work Show for 2026. The Kentucky Derby coming up Saturday right here at Churchill Downs in Louisville, Kentucky.